Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. I thought it would be fun to cook some recipes from my cookbook today. I'm going to try and share some healthier recipes with you for the new year. We are going to make some delicious butter chicken and baked brown rice. If you're not familiar with my cookbook, it's called the Essential Pantry Cookbook and it came out early in 2021. And essentially what it does is features a list of ingredients that you can keep in your freezer and pantry, and then all of the recipes in the book are made from those ingredients, which I think is a really neat concept, especially if you're trying to stay on a budget. So in addition to the butter chicken, I'm also going to share a really fun recipe for blueberry lemon crepes, and then we're also going to be making a peanut noodle salad with some salmon burgers, which is a great meal prep meal, probably one of my favorite recipes out of the cookbook. So let's get started and get cooking for the new year. Okay, so the first recipe that I'm going to show you guys out of the book is the butter chicken recipe, and we're going to make some baked brown rice with that. Now, if you've never made buttered chicken before, never fear. I guess counterintuitive to what the name says, there's only 3 tablespoons of butter in the whole batch. So it's actually quite healthy. Uses a broth of, or a sauce of like chicken broth, tomatoes, and coconut milk. So what I'm doing now is I am making a base to marinate my chicken in, and this is going to make it super tender. So I have some sour cream in the bowl here. I mixed some lemon juice with that, and next I'm going to add some spices. So I'm going to add some turmeric, and I'm also going to add some garam masala and some cumin. I normally get most of my spices from Thrive Market, and it's a great way to source them. You can keep them in glass jars in your pantry and they last a super long time, and they're really fresh and delicious. But the purpose of doing this is to tenderize your chicken. I decided to use sour cream in this particular recipe because it's the pantry cookbook and I didn't have room for a lot of extra ingredients. So you could also use plain yogurt to marinate the chicken, which I think is what is more traditionally done. You could also use buttermilk. Any of those things would really work. So I have some chicken breast here, and I'm just cutting this up into bite-sized pieces. It's just 4, regular sized chicken breasts. You could also use chicken thighs if you want to. I tend to prefer white meat, but obviously the choice is up to you. And you'll want to marinate this chicken for at least 30 minutes. More time is better. You can actually marinate it in the refrigerator up to a day. It just depends on how much time you have. I think I marinated this batch for about 6 to 8 hours, and it turned out really great. So once you get your chicken cut up, you can just put it into the sour cream and lemon juice mixture along with all those spices. And so not only is this going to tenderize the chicken, but it's also going to season it as well. So once I had everything combined, I just covered this with some plastic wrap and stuck it in the refrigerator. This is something you could also do in the morning, and it would be all ready for you when you wanted to cook dinner in the evening. So when you're ready to cook this, you just want to heat up a large pot. I'm using a Dutch oven. I put some olive oil in the bottom of that, and then I'm going to add the chicken and sour cream mixture. Now this isn't really going to saute and brown like normal seasoned chicken would because it's very wet from the sour cream mixture, but that's fine. Don't worry about trying to strain it off. It's all going to mix together in the sauce and it's going to be delicious. You just kind of want to get the chicken cooked a little bit before we add the rest of the sauce ingredients. So I'm going to add a couple cloves of garlic that I crushed. You could use pre-minced garlic if you wanted to. I've really been liking fresh garlic lately, but just go ahead and put that into the pot with the chicken and give that a stir. You want to cook this over probably medium to medium high heat until it is mostly cooked through. Next, I'm going to add 1 can of petite diced tomatoes, and then I'm also going to add 1 cup of chicken broth. You could also add vegetable broth if you wanted to. In fact, that's what the actual recipe in the cookbook calls for, but you could use either. I have some spices here that I'm going to add I'm adding some paprika, some turmeric, some garam masala, cumin, and salt, and we're just going to give that a stir. Obviously, you can season this to your taste. If you want it to be spicier, you could add more hot sauce. I am going to add a few dashes of hot sauce. You can use whatever hot sauce you have on hand. It's not a big deal. And then we're just going to simmer that for about 30 minutes until the chicken gets super tender. I want to thank Thrive Market for sponsoring today's video. You guys know that I work with them frequently here on my channel, and even if I did not work with them, I would still showcase their products because I love their website and their service so much. They have an app that is also really user-friendly and easy to use. You can order groceries right from your couch. It is fantastic, but I've been using them for quite a long time, and they are one of my favorite places to get specialty ingredients because I live in a small town and it can be difficult to source some of these things. I also like that they have a lot of health conscious ingredients and products on their website. So whether you're trying to do keto or paleo or gluten-free or vegan, they have a ton of different products for you to choose from, and it's super easy to filter those products using their app or their website. Thrive Market has a couple different membership options. I always go with the annual membership. It's less than $5 a month, and you enjoy member-only prices. Thrive works directly with each of your favorite organic brands, so you can get high-quality products at the best price. If you guys want to try out Thrive Market, I would totally recommend it. You can go to thrivemarket.com/Jen Chapin. Fantastic deal. You're going to get 40% off your first order, plus you get to choose a free gift. 40% is fantastic. So make sure you take advantage of that. Like I said, I'll have the link in the description box below. thrivemarket.com/Jen Chapin for 40% off your first order. Plus you get to pick out a free gift. All right, so back to the butter chicken. After it simmers for about 30 minutes, you want to just go ahead and stir in 3 tablespoons of butter. Like I said, this does not make the dish obviously have a ton more calories in it. It just kind of smooths out the sauce. And then you're also going to add some coconut milk as well. Now, one thing about this sauce is as it's made, it is pretty thin, which is fine. I eat it like that with rice. Actually, in the cookbook, I didn't have enough ingredients available to add cornstarch, but I do most of the time prefer to thicken this with a little bit of cornstarch and water slurry. But like I said, it's totally optional, or you could use a different type of thickener if you wanted to. So after you stir in the coconut milk and the butter, then I just took a small bowl and I mixed together probably a tablespoon of cornstarch with a couple tablespoons of cold water, and I just poured that in to the butter chicken mixture and stirred that up and just thickened it and simmered it for about 5 minutes, and it's complete. This is so delicious and tender. If you like curries, you will definitely like this. You can also make it with other types of meat as well. Just adjust the cooking time. But I'm going to show you also my recipe for brown rice, which is in the cookbook as well. It's super easy to make, and if you struggle with cooking rice on the stove like I do, baking it in the oven is an awesome option. So you just put a couple cups of brown rice in a 9x13 pan, season it with a little bit of salt, and then I add a couple tablespoons of butter, or you could add olive oil as well. And then you just want to pour in some boiling water over the top. I use my, regular kettle to do that. Stir it around and then cover it with foil. And I bake this at 400 degrees for about an hour. After it's done cooking, you want to take the foil off, fluff it, and let it cool down, and you're good to go. If you want to make white rice, you just cook it for 30 minutes instead of 60. But here is what the completed dish looks like. My brown rice with the butter chicken. This is definitely a delicious recipe. I highly recommend it, like I said, and I will link my cookbook down below. Also, let me know in the comments if you have my cookbook and your favorite recipe out of it. Okay, so I wanted to share a recipe for crepes, and this is one of my kids' favorite things to have for breakfast. I wouldn't necessarily say this is like super healthy, but they are a lot thinner than pancakes, so they have less sugar and carbs. So we'll just go ahead and go. We'll just go ahead and go with that. But I am going to make a blueberry lemon filling for these, which is optional, but it is really, really delicious. So I have some fresh blueberries here. I'm just going to go ahead and give those a wash. And then I'm putting these into a saucepan, and I'll combine those with some sugar and some water and some cornstarch. And basically you just want to cook that on the stove until it thickens. Alternatively, if you didn't want to make the blueberry stuff homemade, you could use jam. That works really well. You can fill crepes with a lot of different things, both sweet and savory. My kids also like their crepes filled with Nutella sometimes. I also added some lemon juice to this, and then I'm just cooking this in a sauce pot over medium heat for about 5 minutes. You just want to make sure that you stir it frequently so that none of the blueberries burn or stick. But as it heats up, the blueberries will burst and you'll get this lovely colored blueberry jam type mixture. So to go with that, I'm going to make some lemon curd filling. And if you've never tried lemon curd before, it's really good, especially if you like lemon flavor. It's kind of just like a sweetened, almost like a really tart lemon pudding, I guess is what I would liken it to. And you just want to mix this with a little bit of cream cheese. You don't need very much at all, and you don't need very much of this in each of the crepes to have it taste like lemon. It's delicious. So I set the fillings aside, and then I'm going to combine some eggs with some vanilla and some milk. If you've never made crepes before at home, I would highly recommend it. As long as you have a nonstick skillet, they're super easy. I also added some melted butter to the batter along with some sugar, and I'll just whisk that up. You could use sugar substitute if you want to in this as well. Almond extract is really good in the batter too. So I'm going to add some flour, and then you just want to whisk that up until it makes a really thin batter. So to cook your crepes, you just want a nonstick skillet, and I spray that with a little bit of cooking spray. I pour about a quarter cup or less of the batter, and then just kind of tilt the skillet and move it around in a circle until it creates a circular crepe, and then you can turn it over, cook it on the other side, and it's done. So to finish these off, I'm just going to spread some of that lemon curd mixture in the middle of the crepe. I'm going to add some blueberries to it, and then we're going to roll it up. And then I like to top these with a little bit of powdered sugar. I think this would be a really cool dessert as well as a breakfast. But like I said, you could fill these with a ton of different things. Strawberries and Nutella, like I said, is one of my kids' favorites. But definitely try these, especially if you're having people over and you want to impress them. They do look really impressive, even though they're not like super fancy. But here is that recipe. Highly recommend that you try this. Like I said, I will link the cookbook down below. And this was a delicious dessert that we had one night after dinner. So we are going to make some peanut sauce, which is on page 22 of the cookbook. I'm going to end up making this into a peanut noodle salad, which is my favorite way to use it, but you can also use it as a drizzle over chicken or fish. You can also use the recipe riff that's in here for a Thai-style chicken wrap and dip it in there. You can also dip spring rolls in it, so it's pretty versatile. For this, you obviously need some peanut butter, 1/3 cup of that, 1 teaspoon of sesame oil, about 1/2 teaspoon of hot sauce. You could use sriracha. I'm going to use Frank's Red Hot, or you could even use red pepper flakes if you wanted to. I've got 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 3 tablespoons of lime juice, and then 2 really small cloves of garlic. The recipe calls for 1, but since that one was pretty small, I'm going to go ahead and use 2. And then a couple tablespoons of chopped cilantro. I'm going to add more because I love it so much. But that all of these ingredients are customizable for your taste. If you taste it and you think it needs more lime juice or salt or pepper or whatever, go ahead and add that. And I'm also going to use some hot water to thin it out. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add my peanut butter. Now, if you're allergic to peanuts, you can also use almond butter in this recipe. It would work exactly the same. I'm going to pour in my lime juice, soy sauce. I'm going to use my garlic press to squeeze my 2 cloves of garlic into there. I always feel like too with the garlic press, some ends up getting left behind. I try to get as much out as I can, but you can rarely have too much garlic in my opinion. Okay, I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of sesame oil. Sesame oil is pretty strong, so you wanna use it sparingly, and then half a teaspoon of hot sauce. Okay, so I've got some hot water, about a quarter of a cup. I'm gonna go ahead and pour that in there, and that will just help the peanut butter to melt a little bit and combine with the rest of the ingredients. And this takes a little bit to come together. We'll just keep whisking. You could also make it in, a food processor or blender if you wanted to, but it works just as well with a whisk, so why go through all the trouble of dirtying that? All right, I'm gonna add my cilantro. Now, if you are one of those folks that is cilantro averse, you could leave it out, or you could also add green onion. I think that would be really good as well. All right, so I'm gonna give this a taste and see if it needs anything. I think I might actually put a touch more peanut butter in it, but other than that, it's good. It is very tart because, well, not very tart, but you can definitely taste the lime juice in it. I personally like it that way, especially if you're gonna put this over noodles. You want it to be strongly flavored, but you can adjust that if you want to. Okay, so I'm gonna add a little bit more peanut butter, get this back into, actually, I'm not gonna put it in the fridge. I was gonna say put it in the fridge, but if you put this in the fridge, it will tend to harden back up because of the peanut butter that's in it. So I'm just gonna set this to the side while I make my noodles. Okay, so for the peanut noodle salad, I'm going to boil about 8 ounces of spaghetti. You could also use linguine if you wanted to. All right, so I've cooked my noodles and I rinsed them in really cold water until they were completely cool. And now I'm going to add the peanut sauce. I always just go ahead and add it all because obviously the pasta is going to soak up some of the dressing. And then we're also gonna add some veggies in it as well. Normally I would add cucumber, but I don't have any right now. So I think I'm going to add some peppers, some green onions, and I'll see what else I have in my fridge. I can't remember right now, but, oh, carrots. I probably have carrots, so that would be good in here. And I always just eat this cold, so it's a great meal prep meal for sure. Okay, so I've got some red pepper in here, some carrots, and some green onions. I'm gonna give this a toss and then get it into a container. Make sure, especially if you're using like long noodles like this, that you cut the veggies small. That way you can eat everything kind of together in one bite. All right, so I'm gonna make these honey soy salmon burgers. This is on page 89 of the cookbook. So here I've got about a pound of salmon that I took the skin off of. I'm gonna end up pulsing this in the food processor just to kind of dice it up and make it easier to form. In this bowl here, I've got 1 beaten egg, some crushed garlic, salt, pepper, and a tiny bit of cayenne pepper. I'm also gonna use 1/3 of a cup of panko breadcrumbs and 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. So for this, you definitely just want to pulse it and not like grind it into a paste. That's about right. Five pulses. Let's do one more. There you go. That's about the texture you want it. Kind of like tuna. So I'm gonna add my panko breadcrumbs to that and my soy sauce and go ahead and stir this up. Okay, so for the glaze, I've got 2 tablespoons of honey in here, 1 clove of garlic crushed, and I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of soy sauce and then whisk this up, and that's what we're gonna use to glaze the salmon burgers. Okay, so I just formed these into patties. Actually got about 5 patties out of this, which normally I only get 4, but I may have had a little bit more salmon than I normally have. So these just need to cook for, I don't know, maybe 4 to 5 minutes per side on medium heat. And then when they're done, make sure you let them rest so they can continue cooking the rest of the way through. And then after I turn them, I'm just gonna brush on some of this honey glaze. Okay, so here is how I served those salmon burgers. I made a little bit of sriracha mayo to put over the top of them, and then I served them with a cold noodle salad on the side with a little bit of extra cilantro. Definitely a delicious, healthy meal. I would highly recommend this one. But thank you guys for watching today. I appreciate you being here on my channel. Don't forget to check out Thrive Market. I'll have all that information down below. Don't forget you can get 40% off, which is a fantastic deal. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.